welcome to the SEN Podcast. I'm Nova,
And I'm Steven.
and this is the first episode. This is Life Talks and Finding Happiness. But first, because this is our first episode, let's introduce ourselves. Hi, I'm Nova. I live in Australia, and my personality type is INFJ. Steven, do you know your personality type?
That's a good question. I haven't done one in a while. And frankly, it tends to change from time to time.
Oh, definitely for me too. I flip from INFJ to INFP like on the daily. It just depends on my emotions.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what do? I am a freelance video editor. That's what I do for work. And yeah, I wanted to do this podcast because I think it's important to talk about men's mental health and mental health in general. So, Stephen, why don't you give us your introduction?
Hey guys, my name's Steven. Also from Australia. I'm 25 at the moment. My background of work is generally just customer service and whatnot. I've had a few roles in the government departments before. Hobbies of mine: gaming, hanging out with friends, catching up every now and then. And yeah,
Yeah, that's great. So, Stephen, what does SEN mean?
well, Sen, we've kind of evolved it around Zen, using the abbreviations of our first names. So S for Stephen, E for Elijah, which is our other member of the podcast. However, he's currently not here at the moment, but we'll introduce him later on. And N standing for Nova. And we're generally leaning towards of pronouncing it as Zen, meaning like, thoughts, absorption, or meditation. And meditation, at the heart of Zen, along with an emphasis on self-control and insight.
Yeah.
I guess a Zen mindset involving, accepting what is, and not being held on judging yourself for feeling a certain way and whatnot.
Yeah, of course. So, SEN like Zen Buddhism, but also Zen meditation. Damn, not speaking well tonight. But yeah, so because we want to focus on mental health, and my background is Buddhist, I feel like this is a great way to start because meditation is helpful for everyone. I have meditated every day for over 2 years now, so I guess that's something to be proud of, even though my parents aren't.
Well, as
Yeah.
your friends, we're definitely proud of you for that.
Yeah, and it's helped shape my life in a better way, like more positivity, better mental stability and control. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, I guess which also leads to, I guess what we're gonna discuss in this first episode as well. Um, we're gonna be discussing, the stages of grief, and we'll sort of just branch off from that, regarding whether it's a lost loved one or relationship issues.
Yeah. So, life talks and finding happiness after grief. Pretty much. Okay. Well, I don't have a spicy story to start off with, but my dad told me a story from when I was younger. I don't remember this, but when I was 8 years old, I was introducing my friends to my dad. And I almost passed out from anxiety because I was just that nervous from trying to just introduce people to my father.
Yeah.
And shortly after that, I got diagnosed with anxiety disorder. Like just a general anxiety disorder.
Yeah.
So things I had to learn for that anxiety disorder were, well, it's difficult. Anxiety is a difficult thing to have, but there's a method that Elijah, who's not here right now has taught me. It's called the STAR method. Now, the STAR method is used for job interviews, actually. But
Yeah.
I applied it to anxiety. So let me get that up for you guys. Okay. So the STAR method is basically S, situation. You provide contents and background. T, tasks. Describe the problem and challenges. A, action. Explain what you did and how. And R, results. State benefits, savings, rewards, and so on. So you use this in a job interview to show your, would it be employer, interviewer?
Yeah, it would be I guess I generally
Interviewer.
say hiring manager.
Yeah, hiring manager. Yeah, to show your hiring manager that you're a competent person and that you can complete tasks. But how I apply this to my anxiety is S, situation. Acknowledge the situation first. Okay,
Yep.
I'm going through anxiety. T is task. Okay, so tasks, you can change it to... Okay, tasks, you can change it to where... Okay, what's causing my anxiety? So what I do is... Okay, I think... Okay, I'm anxious right now. I'm going through anxiety. What is causing this? And then I go to A, action. Action is, what can I do about it? Is it something that can be changed right now? Like, okay, I'm anxious about my maths test coming up. What can I do to be less anxious about it? A, action. Or A, I'm anxious about talking to this girl. Like T, I'm anxious about talking to this girl. So A, what can I do about it? Oh, just realize in your head that, hey, a lot of outcomes you think are going to happen don't actually happen. Isn't that true, Steve? Like,
Yeah, that's
for
right.
anxiety, you always think the worst outcome is going to happen. And it's not good. But through living experience, it's rarely ever the case that the worst outcome happens. Usually a good outcome happens if you have the confidence. But confidence comes through time and training and that. So this is why I use the STAR method for my anxiety. So I can, like really think about things before, without overthinking about it.
Yeah.
So let's go over again. S, situation. Acknowledge anxiety. Okay, I'm going through anxiety. I'm going through a panic attack. T, task. Acknowledge what's causing it. A, action. Think about ways you can combat that anxiety you're going through, like the situation you're going through. And R, results. If it can be solved right then and there, then do it. But if it can't, then don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's not that simple, but it's...
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
you could, go back through your steps again from
Yeah.
the start. Like reassess the situation. There could be other tasks and actions that you can, use to get the result that you want.
Yeah.
But generally, most of the times, the reason why you're in that situation, so if you've got anxiety about it, then yeah, your results won't, generally,
Yeah.
it will generally have a negative outcome.
Yeah. No, I agree. A lot of things about anxiety are in your head. You're creating situations in your head that don't reflect reality. And that's something you have to acknowledge about anxiety. And something I had to acknowledge while growing up. That the thoughts I'm having, the situations I'm playing out in my head, are not a reflection of reality, especially with my friends. Because with my friends, I sometimes think, oh my gosh, they hate me just because their emotions change a little. Like, I don't know what they're going through that day. Their dog could have died that day, and they could be a little bit sad, but I think they're sad at me or angry at me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Stephen, why don't you give us a life story?
I guess since we're on the topic of anxiety, I guess you know, I'd never expected myself to ever, you know, get anxiety or even have like a panic attack or so.
Mm.
I've never had that before. Throughout my whole 25 years of life. Um, and I guess the first time that I experienced it was, you know, as my life story, was with my most recent breakup with my partner.
Mm.
And we had to. There were times when we had to, exchange our stuff and whatnot, just to get our own uh, properties off each other again. So we would casually meet up and whatnot. Um, and during this time, I was at work. I was at work, and I had to meet up with her later on, so after work. And like I don't know. It was Anxiety is a very weird when it comes by. Like it just hits you out of nowhere, and it's kind of hard to get rid of it. Um, and what I did, I guess, was I couldn't work when I had
Mm.
the anxiety attack there. So I asked to speak to one of my bosses, and she pulled me out for a moment, and we had a mild discussion on it. But I guess she really wanted to like dig it out of me. Um, So I don't know about everyone else, but
Typical.
office environments, um, they tend to, because you're in an office, you're not going to be physically harmed or anything. You're not carrying anything. You're not, your back's not breaking over carrying something and whatnot. So like they generally tend to take mental health very seriously in an office, because if you're not in the right headspace, you're not going to be able to work efficiently. So, I spoke to my boss, and she was like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?" And it was kind of hard for me to open up about it, because I've always been the type of person to keep to myself. I generally never open up to anyone if I've got like any serious issues or whatever. Um, Even for example, if my friends and I, were having a heart-to-heart talk, in the past, I would usually, like, yeah, would discuss it, but I wouldn't generally open up so much. But when I was talking to my boss, she asked me what's up, and I didn't even know how to answer her at first, so I was a bit stumped. But I just let her know the situation, I guess, which kind of routes back to the STAR method. So the situation, so she's pretty much asking me for the situation, and I told my boss that, look, like, I enjoy working here, um, but at that moment I'm just not in the right headspace. So she asked me like, why are you in this headspace right now? And I said to her, like, look, so I had to open up and said, oh, my partner and I just, we just had a breakup. And, it's putting me in a headspace. Um, I guess I just said to her that I was panicking.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the gut feeling was telling me that, even though I've never experienced it before, I definitely knew it was like an anxiety attack. And she said, okay, um, well, what's leading you to this anxiety attack? And I said to her, oh, because I guess because I have to meet up with my ex-partner, after work. And then she's like, okay, that's okay. Um, and I guess uh, for task, well, she's asking me like, well, what are you going to do about it? And I said, well, I think I may need some time off right now to, kind of piece myself back together before I see her later on. And she said, yeah, that's cool. Like, take as much time off as you need. Um, and, if you're not in the right mental state to be working at the moment, take as much time off as you want. Um, and just let us know whenever you're ready to come back. Um, and then actions for what I did was, take time off, you know, really find myself, um, and then piece
Yeah.
myself back together, you know, deal with the situation that's outside of work. Um, and then, yeah, and then for the results, I guess, uh, you know, it wasn't too bad. Um, you
Oh
know, we just
yeah.
had a discussion and
I know
whatnot.
about the results.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
We
long
can get
story
that to
short,
later. Yeah.
yeah, I'll branch into it later on. But I guess results for just that time being, um, I guess it was all right. You know, like it was nothing too serious. It was just casual conversations and whatnot with my ex-partner.
Mm.
And yeah, so that's pretty much, I guess, how I used the star method in that situation.
Yeah, that's great. Going back a little bit, what makes you hesitant to talk about your mental health or anxiety?
I guess for me personally, at first it was the fear of opening up. You know, like we grew up in a day and age where us men generally tend to not open up about stuff. And I guess I grew up in a household where, you know, we never really discussed our personal feelings with each other. You know, like I grew up in, yeah, it's a nice and safe, you know, environment of a household. You know, like everything, we don't have any issues and whatnot. Which is why I never really had any anxiety and whatnot until now.
Until now, yes.
Yeah.
Uh, so personally for me, you would know both my parents are qualified in psychology, so
Hmm.
this is an area of expertise, mental health.
Yeah.
My mum worked as a counselor, and my dad worked in the mental health field, taking care of clients. But I could never open up to my parents because I was the fear of getting judged, and I couldn't open up to my friends. Like I've known Stephen for a long time now, going on 13 years now.
Yeah, it's been a
Technically,
while.
we met
Oh,
in grade one. Technically, we met in grade one, but we didn't really talk until high school.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but like I never even opened up about my mental health starting until 2020. Like, no one knew like what I was going through, not even my parents. And
Yeah.
every time I did try and open up, my mum was very quick to say, "Oh no, you don't have that. You don't have depression and that." Until I got diagnosed with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, it's like being a man in this society. Like, you just feel like so quickly judged for having something that can be feel like a weakness. Like, but these mental health things aren't a weakness. It's just something you have to go through in your daily life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. And what I think, adding on to that, um, I think that it is a good thing to go through, you know, these mental issues as well, because I guess it builds your character, and it kind of shapes you up, uh, for, you know, future situations or issues as well.
Yeah.
And it actually makes you stronger.
Like, I don't want to state things that aren't true, but they say that anxiety and depression developed from like our like ancestors, like our tribal ancestors,
All right.
like 20,000 years ago. Because if you got separated from the tribe, you were dead. And anxiety was to keep your senses heightened during like hunts, like so you wouldn't get eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. Yeah. Yeah, but we live. Yeah, so those mental conditions developed so our ancestors could know like what things to expect, what things to experience. But we don't live in that era's days anymore. We're not
Yeah.
hunting. We live in
Yeah.
cities and that. So we still carry on that, but without anything to fight it against. So we're just experiencing all these things.
Yeah, and I think right now, I guess it would be, it wouldn't be, like you'd have anxiety over fighting a saber-toothed tiger. You'd have anxiety, fighting society. Because everyone's so quick to judge.
Yeah, that's the main thing about me though. It was always came back down to like weakness. Like I never want to appear weak in front of my peers, so I just never talked about it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I started going to therapy that things started to get better for me. Now, I'm not saying therapy works for everyone, because that's just not true. There's just some people that therapy isn't going to work through, and what they need is like a physical activity, if that makes sense. Like a hobby. Like they need a physically experience through things.
Yeah. What I used to use would be just, going to the gym.
Yeah, like the gym. Yeah.
And whatnot.
Yeah. So yeah, that's anxiety, but yeah, we talked about anxiety enough. What other things can we talk about? Oh, we could go on for ages.
We can branch back up, back to anxiety later on.
Yeah.
If anyone wants to, discuss about it or wants us to discuss about it. I guess right now we can branch from that to grief.
Yes, yeah. Let's go to grief.
Yeah, I'll give a personal story. I guess it'd be regarding a lost loved one. Recently one of my close mates, his sister had a heart condition, and she recently passed. And that was kind of hard to deal with. Like we all raised money, got her a heart transplant. But in the end, like the body just doesn't want to accept it, and so she passed, unfortunately.
Yeah, that must be tough.
Yeah, it wasn't, I guess it was tough for me, just seeing one of my best mates be really upset about it. Like he had a lot of regrets, like he mentioned in one of the group chats with us that maybe he should have spent more time with her, and stuff like that. But everyone's in a different stage of their life. We're all trying to do what's best for us. We've got our own families and whatnot, and we're moving on as well. But yeah, I guess when we were at the funeral, at the burial especially, he stood, he stood next to me, and he just started crying, and I had to cry with him. Like it was pretty grim. There wasn't much support I could give him besides, just telling him that I'm there for him. I've known her for a long period of time as well.
Yes.
So she's like a sister to me as well. I watched her. I used to run around, like a kid playing with them when I was 18. And watching them grow up as well.
Yes.
Seeing them, take their first shot of alcohol and whatnot. And then, seeing that they're no longer here with us, it's, it hits differently. But yeah, we'll talk about the stages of grief. So Nova, what are the stages of grief?
Oh, I guess I can tell my grief story first.
Oh yeah.
But
yeah,
yours, sure. Yeah, I saw it from the background, and it's a difficult situation to go through losing a family member. For me, my grief I had to get over the most in life was when my grandfather died. Now, backstory of my grandfather, he was always part of my life. And he would come over, and we used to call him Funny Grandpa. Because he was a very funny man. But he was also my best friend. He's the first person I came out as bi to. Bi as in bisexual. Yeah. And, like, he was just there for me, and if he wasn't around back in my teenage years, I would have ended my life, pretty much. He gave me courage, strength, and taught me what it meant to be a man. Like, what we're discussing now, like mental health and that, and feelings, this is something he was very strong and very capable in. He wasn't afraid to cry. He wasn't afraid to show emotions. He was okay with talking about personal feelings and that. And he even wrote a... what's it called? A bibliography?
Bibliography?
Yeah. Like a book about his life. And his life was not easy at all. Yeah, but besides all that, my grandfather died in 2020, and to lose a best friend like that was extremely difficult, because this was my guiding light in my life. Someone who was always there for me, who helped shape me to be a better person. And to lose someone like that is extremely difficult. And yeah, like, I was lost for a long time afterwards. Like, this is my best friend we're talking about. Losing a best friend, especially a family member like a grandfather, is like hard on everyone. Like, everyone was crying. But when I had to go to the hospital to see his body, all my family was there. But my dad couldn't make it, even though it was my dad's father. Yeah. So I had to, in that situation, basically be like the man of the house, and I had to comfort all my siblings and my mother, and everyone was crying, and I at this time couldn't cry because I knew I had to be strong for my family in that moment. And then there was a lot of crying afterwards, but yeah. So that leads into it. Grief. The stages of grief, and how to find happiness after. That's a good start.
Yeah.
Okay, Steven, what do you know about stages of grief?
Well, I didn't have any insight on it until just recently. So I guess the only thing that I really knew regarding the stages of grief would just be acceptance. So the final stage of grief. So really what goes through my mind regarding grief would just be acceptance. So, at the end of the day, like, it's like, what can I do about it? I can cry about it, I can be upset about it, or I can be angry about it, or I can be depressed about it and stuff. But it always leads to acceptance later on. But I generally try to bump acceptance up as early as I can, just because the quicker I get out of that mentality, the sooner the better. So I guess acceptance, which is the final stage. So I guess we might be going a little bit backwards.
It's okay. We'll cover it.
Yeah. So I guess it would be acceptance. Is not necessarily a good stage to be in. It is the best stage to be in, but it's it's a little bit still on the grim side. Even though you've reached this stage, you'll still go backwards as well.
Okay, so the 5 stages of grief are denial, anger,
Mhm.
bargaining, depression, and acceptance.
Yeah.
Okay. So denial. Oh, we're all been through this one. Okay, so denial is some people feel numb after the death of a person they care about. They may even try to carry on as though nothing has happened. If you experience this, it could be because it's just too hard to believe that the person you know so well is not coming back. You may also still feel their presence, and you may think that you have heard their voice or even seen them. Now, this is something I've been through. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess denial is, it's a coping mechanism.
Yeah. This is something that everyone will go through. Whether it be through the death of a loved one or the end of a relationship or anything else.
It could also be, job loss also as well.
Oh, definitely.
Like sometimes you could be fired out of the blue, or let go of work as well.
Okay. So, where have you experienced denial? Or do you want me to go first?
Denial, I guess, from a personal experience would be, regarding a breakup, so an end of a relationship. Really, reality hasn't settled in yet,
Yeah.
and you just go about your day as if nothing's happened so far. Like you're living your normal day-to-day life, and you haven't really processed it yet. So like you're a bit numb to the intensity of what's happened. Like and you'll hide your emotions at that point. Like nothing has settled in yet, and you don't really want to accept it. So then you're hiding all your emotions.
Yes.
And you're denying that it's happened. And yeah, so that is pretty much, generally what happens to most people at the start of debriefing stages. What about you, Nova?
For me, I definitely went through a lot of denial, through a lot of deaths and relationship breakups and even friendship losses.
Yeah.
Like, I'll tell myself, oh, surely I can recover this friendship. Surely the relationship isn't over. Oh, surely this person will come back again, right? From the dead. But sometimes it's just not the case. Most of the times it's not the case.
Yeah.
And that's where my denial comes in. Like, I always think, because of my attachment disorder. Yeah, my attachment disorder. That I think everything can be recovered. Like, surely, like, yeah, people make mistakes, but you can forgive people, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, but we just need to accept reality sometimes. That sometimes you just have to break things up. Sometimes you just gotta let things go. You gotta get it out of that denial stage.
Yeah.
But what comes after denial, Steve?
After denial would be anger.
Anger, yes.
Yeah. It's another coping mechanism as well.
Yes, it is.
So for example, anger. Your boss could have let you go from a job, and you'd be angry at them. Of course, like why wouldn't you? Like you work your ass off every day for them, and all of a sudden they just let you go.
Yeah.
So you'd be angry at them,
Yeah. Of course.
and it's natural. It's natural.
Yeah.
You know, there would be a lot of resentment.
Yeah,
Um,
it's very natural to feel anger after someone dies or after a breakup or a job loss. Death can seem really cruel and unfair. It can feel harder too if the person who died was too young to die, or if their death leaves you with a lot of responsibility or practical problems.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, you like anger can, you know, like you wouldn't. It depends on the person as well. You know, you could be angry at yourself even, or you could be angry at
Yeah.
you know, whoever's made the situation happen, or even if
Mm.
it's, you know, an unfortunate situation. So you could be angry at anything regarding that.
Yeah. For me, my anger came after my grandfather died, because I felt like I didn't do anything to make him proud of me. So I was angry at myself. Like at that point, I've lived 23 years, and I felt like I just hadn't done anything that can make my grandfather say, "I'm proud of you." But like I know he was proud of me, though, and how far I'd come as a person. But in that
Yeah.
moment, I was like, "Wow, no, but you done nothing. Like, what's there to be proud of yourself of? Like, he died before you could show him like your true potential." And that anger stuck with me for a long time, like over a year.
Yeah. And I guess we can talk about, you know, like these stages of grief.
Yeah,
It can last quite a while as well,
yeah,
just
a
depending on
long
the
time.
person.
Yeah, it all just depends on the person.
Yeah.
Okay, next one is bargaining. This is when some people who are grieving start making deals with themselves, or perhaps a god if they are religious. Maybe they promise themselves that they will now always do or not do something, believing that it could make the person who has died come back. Maybe they believe it all will stop anyone else dying, or other bad things happening. This is sometimes called magical thinking. People may also find that they keep going back over the past and ask a lot of what if questions, wishing that they could go back and change things so they could have turned out differently. Well, I just talked about my bargaining situation.
Yeah, you know, I'll give a insight on one of my stories as well. So, you know, bargaining, you know, I guess it would be with the lost loved one. Um, so my mate's sister, bargaining, like, what if, you know, like, what if we could have done, you know, something different? You know, what if we could have provided more support, you know, like before situations got worse? So that's like, you know, kind of like, um, I guess it would sort of relate to denial as well, because you don't want to accept it, so then you want to create or, you know, imagine different situations and scenarios where, you know, you can do things better to try to, you know, uh, I guess, lower the blow of the situation on yourself.
Yeah, I have done that a lot in the past. Bargaining, like, oh my gosh, I will never do this again, or I'll start doing this. Like, after every friendship end, after every breakup, it's the glow up era. That's
Yeah.
the bargaining. That's the bargaining era. Where you start working out more, you start working more, you start doing whatever you need to do to start feeling better.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always work.
It doesn't always work. It's more like a distraction for the
Yeah.
time being.
Oh, I've done it so much.
Oh
I think
yeah.
I'm constantly stuck in the bargaining era.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Bargaining is
That's
you
the
know,
one I always go
everyone,
back to. Yeah.
yeah, everyone always goes back to this one, you know, just because they want a different outcome.
Hmm. Okay, so
Um, yeah, so I guess which leads us to the next stage, which would be one of the worst stages.
Oh, this is the worst one to go through.
Yeah, this is the worst one to go through. But
Depression.
you know, like you have to go through this. You know, you'd have to go through depression to finally find acceptance.
This is the one that takes the longest to get out of.
Yes, that's right. So depression, you know, anger and bargaining can feel, active, but at the depression stage, this is the stage where you'll cry the most. Um, you know, and this is the stage where you battle your inner demons.
Oh,
The
definitely.
most.
Definitely.
So you could feel a bit confused, or a bit foggy, and at this stage, you might start talking to a therapist also at this stage, or you might start talking to friends or family members at this stage, or if you're one of those persons like myself, or if you don't really open up to people, this stage it weighs on you the most if you don't open up to anyone.
Oh yeah, it can last months or years even. It really
Yeah,
just
so-
depends. Yeah.
Yeah, and at this stage as well, you'll tend to isolate yourself.
Oh yes.
Just because you don't really want to see anyone at this stage. You don't want anyone to see yourself being at such a low point in your life. And yeah, but everyone copes it differently. You can, mainly people mainly talk to therapists in this stage, but I myself personally like to discuss at this stage, discuss things with friends.
Yeah, I'm very much
It's
the
a lot
same.
easier. Yeah, it's a lot easier to just open up to them because you've known them for such a long time, and they, at a point in time they've gone through these stages as well, or they're really open-minded, and they'll understand.
Have you ever had depression like so bad you can physically feel it? Like the
No,
chest
I
heaviness.
actually haven't. No,
Like you can feel it in your heart. Oh my gosh, that is a
Actually-
feeling.
so that's what it was.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's what it was. Okay.
Yeah, you get that chest,
I-
heavy chest. Yeah.
I never had that. Like I've never thought about it. I just thought it was just, the pain from
Like-
a lost one or a breakup or so.
Yeah, like that's for me. When I get really bad anxiety or depression, I can't breathe. My chest stops working. My lungs just feel so heavy, and that's
Yeah.
and like depression and anxiety can physically wear you out.
Oh
Like-
yeah.
Yeah, it just takes away your energy.
Yeah. I guess, like finding out that I was in that stage of depression, I guess at that point in time, you don't really want to do anything. you know.
Mm.
I kind of locked myself in, and isolated myself. I stopped working out, stopped playing sports, I stopped eating. I wasn't getting enough sleep. I guess
Yeah.
at that point I was getting like, the first couple of days I was getting like 15 or 30 minutes of sleep at night, which is really unhealthy.
Definitely.
And then gradually, I started sleeping in 1 to 2 hours, and then 4 hours, and then 6 hours, and then it takes a while to kind of for your body to reschedule that. And at that point of time, I lost quite a bit of weight, looked really unhealthy, and it's not a good place to be. Your friends and family, they take a quick glimpse at you, and they see that, oh my god, like you look so unhealthy. Are you even eating or sleeping? And for myself, I looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like, oh my god, like what happened to you? Like
Oh yeah, yeah.
this looks so healthy, and like what's going on, and it's not a great place to be for anyone. Yeah, like I wouldn't wish it upon my worst enemy.
Yeah, like depression's tough. My one's kind of the opposite. I overeat when I'm depressed. I binge eat. So
Yeah.
I put on weight when I get depressed, which is also very rough. And people also say things to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah, but if you're going through depression, like please talk to someone. Like I had to learn that. Hey, it's like way better to talk to someone that you trust and be honest and express how you really feel than to keep it up
Yeah.
and all bottled inside.
Yeah, that's right. So, feel free to reach out to someone. Um, if you guys are listening to this, feel free to reach out to us as well.
Of course.
We're more than happy to just, sit down with you,
Yeah.
and talk things out.
This is a bro chat podcast. A bro talk
Yeah, exactly.
podcast. But we're here to talk. Okay, last step, acceptance. This is a step that not many people reach for a very long time.
Yeah, that's right.
You got any samples, Stephen, from your life?
I guess the best one would be getting over a breakup. Like you go through all these stages already, and then you hit, like eventually you just hit a certain point where you just say to yourself, oh, look, like what's done is done, and it is what it is, and you're ready to move on.
Yeah.
Even though, once you've reached this stage, um, you'll still look back, you'll still feel all the other stages that you've gone through every now and then. But once you reach this step, things start looking a bit brighter.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's the thing about grief though. Eventually over time it becomes less painful. And you become more accepting of living life without them. Nothing is permanent on this earth. Eventually everything will be lost, everything will disappear. And that's something as a Buddhist, but as a person in general, I had to accept. Like, eventually everything's gonna go away.
Yeah. So at this point, you'll. It just means that you've accepted it. You understand that it's part of your life now. And like there's brighter days ahead. And you'll still think about things, but you'll be okay.
That's true. That's very true, Stephen. So finding happiness there. Are you
Yeah.
happy currently, Stephen?
Currently, honestly, I wouldn't say happy would be, what I would describe it as. Because I'm not happy, but I'm not sad. So I guess you could say I'm content as it is. What about you, Nova?
Oh gosh, it's had a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
Yeah, recently another important person died in my life, but this isn't a person I was really close to, so while I'm still sad about it and still grieving, it's not as hard. But there's also other stuff been going on that I may or may not talk about in the future, but I'm in the same case. Like, I'm not depressed, but I'm not exactly happy either. I don't know how to pronounce this word. Oh. There's another title. Persistent Depressive Disorder. It's basically high functioning depression. It's where you can go on with your life, But okay, let me say again. High functioning depression is where you can go on with your life normally, but still with the depressive symptoms.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how do we find happiness, Stephen? Because we're both in a dump right now, where we're not going through happiness, but we're not exactly sad either.
That's a very good question. You know, I'm still trying to find the answer to that for myself. You know, because everyone finds happiness in a different matter, whether whether it be with a loved one or a life's goal, work, also. But me personally, I think I would find happiness once I've settled down in life. You know, once I've reached a few of my goals. Um, you know, for example, you know, um, getting my dream car, um, getting my dream house, and I guess it would be a career as well. Finding a workplace where I feel like I belong and am, providing or helping others. Um, just assisting with whatever they need in that department also.
I hear you. So what I've started doing is looking for the smaller things in life. Like, if I see a video with like a cute dog in it, for example, and I smile at it, I acknowledge that I smiled. Like, oh hey, look, you smiled today. Or, you see something nice, like hang out with your friends. So that's what I've started doing. I started looking for the smaller things to be happy about, and eventually I'll build up to the bigger things. Like, I smiled at least 20 times today. I stopped counting after 5. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like, you could be scrolling through TikTok or Instagram Reels or so, and you'll see something really wholesome, and like you'd find happiness.
Yeah, and that's proof. Yeah, and that's proof. Even in depression, you can find happiness.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my advice to everyone. Start looking for the little things to be happy about. Like, if it's a cat video, if it's eating chocolate, if it's going for a walk through nature. It's small, but you can still experience happiness throughout those small experiences. Like, having these grand goals is great, because grand goals lead to grand things.
Yeah. And I guess other small things as well, like, say for example, you wake up in the morning to go to work, and you got to think about it as well. Some people would envy that, that you get to wake up and
Yes.
go to work, and some people don't have that.
Yeah,
So,
it's about gratefulness.
Yeah, you got to be grateful of what you have.
Of course. Yeah, that's the one thing my mother recommends, actually. A gratefulness journal. Me and Elijah and me have been journaling for a while now. Some entries are sad, some are happy. But it's expressing your feelings on paper. Or in my case, in a Word document.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's very good, because it's a way to release your feelings and acknowledge them when you don't really have someone to talk to about them.
Yeah,
like,
that's
you
right.
can't see your therapist for the day because they're busy, or your friends aren't around right now. Yeah, it's writing down your feelings is a great way to express yourself and to let them out. Yeah, so Stephen, I think we should close it off now. Do you got any
Yeah.
final words?
Sounds good to me. You know, everything that we've talked about is what everyone will go through in their lifetime. You know, it's not nice. You know, you wouldn't want to go through it, but it's best to go through it.
Yeah.
It builds you into a more grateful person. You know, you'll be more accepting of things once you've reached this point.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not saying that we've exactly reached that point yet, because we've still got our own things, situations and whatnot to deal with as
Yeah,
well.
we're fighting our own demons.
Yeah,
But that's why we're here. SEN Podcast to learn.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But like what Nova said, find the little things. It's the little things that build up to happiness as well.
Yeah. It's all about acceptance at the end of the day. You have to allow yourself to go through things to develop and grow.
Yeah,
Happiness isn't going to happen in a day. Rome wasn't built in a day. And neither is your happiness, but if you build it step by step, stone by stone, eventually you'll build something beautiful, and that beautifulness is happiness. Yeah. So, let's talk a little bit about what's going to happen next episode. Do you remember?
oh, that's a good question. What are we going to discuss in the next topic?
Okay, next topic is depression and overcoming. Due to change, maybe. Depends. We're still discussing things, but
Yeah,
most likely depression and overcoming. Even though we talked
Yeah.
about it a little bit today, we're really going to get into it next episode.
yeah, we'll discuss it more. We'll give our own story on depression and whatnot in further detail and stuff. And we'll also go through overcoming. So what we did, in our own experience. And we could also like list a couple of things that you could do as well. And yeah,
Yeah. And expect no research whatsoever.
oh yeah,
Documents, source, peer-reviewed sources. Nah.
So yeah, that's what SEN Podcast is, baby.
Bro talk. Oh, good stuff.
Yeah, but yeah, guys, to recap, feel free to reach out to us, or someone that you trust and is close to you, to discuss things.
Of course. Alright. This is SEN Podcast, and we thank you all for watching and listening.
Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone. We'll see you next episode.